at 6, delaying a death sentence. South Carolina prison officials putting off an execution because they don't have the lethal injection drugs they need, and they haven't had those drugs in stock since 2013.
Richard Moore has been on death row for nearly 2 decades. He was convicted of shooting and killing a gas station clerk in Spartanburg County. He is one of dozens of inmates who will have to continue to sit on death row because inmates who insist on lethal injections are essentially blocking their own executions.
South Carolina has not had a functioning death penalty for years. Fox 46's Matt Grant digging into the dilemma that many states are now facing.
That have shield.
The director of the South Carolina Department of Corrections doesn't know what he would tell victims' families.
I can't imagine what they've gone through and what they're going through.
Brian Sterling isn't surprised by Friday's execution delay. He's been warning about it for years.
I feel like my role is to carry out a lawful order that the court, fully appealed order. And when we couldn't do that, my only role is to tell the legislature, hey, we can't carry out what y'all have passed, and I did that.
In a letter to death row inmate Richard Moore's attorney last week, the DOC confirmed it cannot obtain the required drugs prior to Friday's execution. 31 jurisdictions have the death penalty. 14 have a shield law, which blocks the identity of drug makers from being made public. In 2017, Sterling stood next to Governor Henry McMaster, who pushed for lawmakers to pass a similar measure.
The reason we don't have the drugs, despite intense efforts to get them, is because the companies that make them, the distributors who distribute them, and the pharmacists who may have to compound them don't want to be identified.
Have the shield laws worked? That depends on how you define work.
Robert Dunham is the executive director of the nonprofit Death Penalty Information Center. He criticizes shield laws, saying the death penalty needs transparency, not secrecy.
If you're going to use the government power to kill somebody, it's necessary to make sure that carrying out the law doesn't violate the law.
All of this putting the death penalty's future on life support. In Charlotte, Matt Grant, Fox 46.
Governor McMaster said in a statement the Department of Corrections is pursuing every possible avenue to make sure justice is served in this case and future ones. Moore's attorneys say they're pleased with the stay, but will continue their attempts to obtain information about how the state plans to execute him.